Orange team.
Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Mike.
And this is Board Game Rundown. Today we are going to do a Kickstarter preview of the Horror Game Show from Board Games. This game plays 2 to 4 players. It says 2 to 3 hours. I feel like it's probably more like 2 hours for us, like with learning, two and a half. But just
I'd say 90 minutes would probably be a good.
yeah,
Get it in.
because it actually amps up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So to just dumb it down, like distill it down into its the easiest way to describe this game, it is basically if you were the producer of the show, The Running Man.
Yeah. That's a good way
Is
to
what
put
you're
it.
doing, because you're going to have these contestants that they're these blue character, the blue acrylics here. And this, again, prototype copy. And you're going to be running them through this arena, this board. There's blips you can walk into, you flip over. They might give you items. There might be traps, things like that.
Could be a hidden person.
Could be a hidden person. And then throughout the game, you're going to have the ability to introduce hunters into the game. And they are characters which you're essentially going to add to the other side of your player board. And the goal of this game is not to like, oh, I need my contestants to win. No, the goal is to get the most fans and make the
ratings. It's ratings.
most money for the network. And so to do that, you're going to be engaging your contestants and the hunters with other people's contestants, sometimes even your own. In our game, basically to end it, I had my last 2 standing contestants fight each other because I wanted to make sure I got the points for that before Bob or Mike could walk over with one of their hunters and kill off my guys and then take some of the credit for it.
Yep.
You're going to basically have a hand of cards that is dedicated to a deck that is dedicated to you. You are going to add cards as you add characters to your decks. And then the card play of this I found really interesting. So you've got these cards, they've got like a play and a pause symbol. So you got your hand of cards. You can play as many of the cards that have the play symbol as you want on your turn. But and then they could have like a generic ability, and they could also have a character specific ability. So a generic ability is just going to be like a player color. So if you're green and all your cards are green in there, you're going to have, you just play those, and you either going to use that card for the move or you're going to use that card for its special ability. So for the move at the top, it's got like a red running guy and a blue running guy.
Yep.
And so if it's blue, it's the contestant. If it's red, you can move a hunter.
I just noticed that the hunter guy's got an axe.
Got an axe too.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
even better. So that way, if you're colorblind, you can tell which one is which. Or you could use that card for the ability. And so sometimes you're going to be setting up combos by playing those cards with the abilities first.
Right.
So because then it's like, if this card is in play, then this character gets extra action dice or something if they fight. Things like that. There are also reaction cards you can get, which you can play, basically when it says, which is almost at any time.
Right.
I think pretty specifically the ones I remember seeing are like, at any time you can do this, or during a fight maybe. But yeah, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to run around, and then as the game goes on, through 12 rounds potentially. Ours didn't go 12 rounds. I think it went 10, maybe 9.
I think it was right. I think the 9th one, because we were about to lose the last top part
Up here.
and you killed your person.
But otherwise it will end at the end of 12 rounds.
Right.
But yeah, you're just going to run around. You're going to try to keep your characters alive for as long as you can. You're going to fight. You're going to gain fans. You're going to spend money, or your fans as currency to do things. The player boards give you sort of the breakdown of all of that.
And dials to track that, and it's got a little trade-in thing too. So it's got all the things you earn fans by doing stuff. Then you can trade fans in for money. You can trade them in to do other types of activities.
Yeah, you get like
actions.
extra intrigue cards,
Right.
things like that. And then also every round you're going to have like an event and a challenge.
Like the producers want this to happen. You're going to make sure it does.
Right. And so if you meet that challenge, right, say it's like you need to kill, a survivor needs to die this round.
Yeah.
Or a contestant needs to die this round. So if you kill a contestant, you're going to get $5.
Yep.
For doing that. Or just even being in a fight, right? They want their weapons showed off.
Right. Yeah.
Like we want to display the weapons this round. So if you got in a fight with a character and anybody was using weapons, you're going to get money for it. And so like in truth advertising, dark comedy.
Right. this baseball bat company needs their bat put on display. Make sure you fight somebody who's got one.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Louisville Slugger paid a lot of money for this
That's
ad.
right. You better make sure it's brained with that.
And then, on your character sheets, there's spots for your character's inventory. Some of the
Yep.
hunters actually come with like unique items. Like,
yeah.
who was it? Did you have the bomb?
Well, no, the bunnies can be turned into bombs.
Right. Who had that character?
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
Green screen.
And then, yeah, the character, like this character turns people turns trophies into equipment, into clothing.
Other people have stuff they can hand to others, and then they explode or they like get cursed.
That was
or-
that chick there. Looks like a little Wednesday Addams
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, she
character,
does.
but she has a bunch of little bunny rabbits, and she can either put them into people's hands and make them carry them around. They can't discard them, or then you can just turn around and make them explode.
Right. Right. And combat,
looking.
I appreciated the simplicity of combat. Combat's pretty straightforward. You've got there's a fist on your player board that tells you how many dice you roll.
Yep.
And there's a skull, which indicates what is a critical hit.
Yep.
Usually 5 or 6, depending on the character. Oh, she's got a 4?
I like how they, like, the more you get, they kind of like sync up and like
Right.
they can kind of line up, and that way it makes it easy.
Yeah,
to,
you do line them up on your, so you can keep
Everybody
track.
starts with 4 contestants, and they can add 2 hunters as the game goes on, a max of 2. If one dies, you can get another one.
Right.
And I like how, so to tidy up the mechanism on how the course of play is done, we talked about the play cards. Well, when does a turn end? That's the pause cards. As soon as you play a pause card, your turn is over. So you're going to try to play as many of those play cards as you can until you get to one of those pause cards. But then the other mechanic that I really like is starting with the second round, whoever is the first player is going to decide how many of their cards
Oh, yeah, I like
they
this.
want to discard. Whoever discards the most cards becomes first player,
The media favorite.
or they get the media attention. Now they have an opportunity to take a hunter and add them to their set of characters here. And that mechanic is really cool because it's essentially a bid. You're trying to find, well, which card am I not going to want to use this round that I can dump to try to get a hunter out on the board and try
Right.
to get myself more money.
Right.
Really like that mechanic.
And yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. I also back in the combat when you're going to roll your dice and then your opponent's going to roll their dice and you essentially are just lining it up, right?
lining your high die and your next die. your
Right,
next die.
and they're just going to cancel each other out as you go down the list. And one thing I also really appreciated was that because sometimes somebody's going to roll 7 dice and somebody's going to roll 4 dice, right? So for any die that your opponent has and you don't have one, you are just considered to have a die of 1.
right.
So then that way, if they still roll 1s, you're
They're not
negating those,
yeah.
right? So there aren't just automatic hits. Now you could get automatically hits still, if you're
Well, look, 5 2s and you got no dice.
right.
Still hits.
Right. But I liked that. This game, I thought for a minute, because the board starts off really big and it does get smaller as you get deeper into the rounds. I thought, well, it's going to be a little while. We're going to have some time to like explore and get some gear. I mean, turn 1, we were whacking on each other
Yeah, yeah.
pretty hard. Like, we were bloodying.
And that was just with 3 players. Like, imagine we had a 4th player in that mix too. Like,
Right.
we've been cramped on top of each other and just really wailing.
Yeah. So I did like that quite a bit. Because and Mike pointed this out, and I'm sure he'll bring it up a little bit, is there's the potential for some downtime between turns, but I also feel like you're getting attacked so much, and the
Yeah.
attacks can kind of go anywhere that maybe, somebody's working out their combos, and like their cards are going to play, but I mean, be ready because they're getting ready to attack you, and you may have that card in your hand that lets you move. I had one, I never used it, which will like play at any time, move your player. So I could have tried to move out of the way, and I it's on me, kept going, I'll use this later. Put it off. Probably really should have used it on one particular battle. Didn't. And then was like, dang it, I should have used that. And then it was kind of like, well, I don't need it now.
Right.
But that's on me. That's not a flaw in the game or anything. And then also here's something that's important. And I think that this is where they could really
Add some
shore
stuff.
up
Yeah.
and add some stuff. But this is a prototype. But the contracts, right? So everybody's going to have 3, or is it 3? Yeah, 3
3
hidden
contracts.
contracts. And some of them can contradict each other, which
Yeah.
is a problem that Mike
So
had.
maybe deal 4 and choose 3 or something.
Right.
So in case you have 2 that directly conflict, you can get rid of 1.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's not like a ton of variety. It's like kill all the players to your left or kill all the players to your right. Or
Make sure somebody's hunters live.
Right.
Mine. Yeah.
And
Right.
you've got those private ones, but in addition, I don't see 'em.
Oh, I didn't
You've
put them out, but there's
you've got
public goals.
community contracts as well that everybody's competing towards at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's last man standing is the one trophy. There's killing the most hunters and then killing the most contestants. And so those are extra goals at the end that everybody can get. What's interesting, I don't know that it's good or bad, is that they go in a pile right here, and instead of being like face up displayed like
Right.
the whole game, it's kind of almost out of sight, out of mind. So after you teach the game, you explain it, then they go in this pile and you kind of forget about it.
Oh, that's
for a
why I
while.
didn't realize they existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? They go okay.
Yeah. No, they do.
Yeah. So, all right.
That's the spot for them on the board. But otherwise, again, I like. We should talk about this because this will be the one component we know, I guess, is more or less ready. Is the artwork?
Oh yeah.
You know, I think the
The artwork's fantastic.
I
we
like
were
it.
loving the artwork on the cards.
I mean, the
it's
art
gritty.
Oh yeah, it's great.
on these characters and on the board actually brings out the theme in this game. I mean, just the way some of these characters are drawn on these character cards, plus on the actual cards that go into your deck. I mean, some of the detail in these cards is incredible. I was really impressed with the artwork on the cards. It's gory, so it's not for everybody, but that's what this game is. I mean, this
Right.
is people going around trying to murder each other for
Yeah, you can put
entertainment
that one
and
up.
money.
It's pretty safe.
So
C4
if
inside the
that's
money?
Yeah.
if that's not an adult theme, I don't know what is. But the art is fantastic. The drawing on those cards and of these different contestants and hunters is really well done. It brings out the theme. I mean, I feel like I'm running a production show. Like okay, wouldn't it be cool if I sent this guy over here to fight him just because I'll get fans? He might die, but I'll get this out of it. And it's like you realize you're literally doing this for entertainment,
Right.
and money.
And money.
And money.
Well, and so everybody's going to start with like a generic like 6-card starter deck, right?
Right.
But then as you are drafting your contestants,
Right.
you're picking your
They've got a few cards that
contestants.
go with it.
They're going to add cards to your deck. You know, so now you're getting, and all their cards are different. They're all asymmetric. It never just seemed like, I have the same thing, but it's just this version of your card.
Right.
Like, no, these guys all
They're
play
very
different,
distinct.
and they feel like they actually go along with the design of the characters. Now, I don't have it in the prototype version, but I would be very interested in like a lore book. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
even if it's just, well, like as a kid, right? Like, you get like a G.I. Joe, right? And so you'd have the card,
Right.
like the card,
Backstory and
and you flip it over and you could read like, oh, this guy was a SEAL, you know, this and that, you know. And so like to have I don't need a 3-page, you know, dossier
Dissertation,
on
yeah.
everybody, but just a paragraph, you know, like of why are they like this, you know, and
Why are you like this? They're still trying to figure that out.
and you can pick up like some of the things just from looking at their cards. Like that's how good I think that the cards are for each character, you know, because like the patient, you know, he's got some things where it's like, oh, so he was like experimented on, you know what I mean? Like things like that. But yeah, I think that component wise, the artwork is definitely a very strong point. It is very, very graphic. So it is, if you have an aversion to some violence depicted on cards,
Yeah, probably not the game for you.
yeah, I would just say, you know, be warned. But other than that, you know, the board is what it is. I think we were able to tell all the spacing and everything very clearly.
Yep.
It's there's just right now, I don't know what the final version will look like. There's basically red circles that tell you either where your contestants can spawn or where you place blips.
Yep.
Oh, so 2 things that I thought were really cool. When you are placing your contestants, you can opt to, when it's your turn, instead of placing him, you'll have a blip token version of a contestant, and you could just put it in the blip pile instead of putting him on the board. Now that means when we fill out the rest of the board with all the blips, he's or she is
Somewhere.
hidden
Yeah.
somewhere in there. They're hiding in there. And so when a character, even if it's your own, walks onto that blip, if it flips and it's a dude, well, you're fighting.
You're fighting.
And so then another thing that I thought was pretty interesting is that there are events or things that'll come up that'll be like this character, or randomly pick an active character and they blip You know, so then now
They
you
hide or whatever. it
yeah,
is.
now you turn them into a blip. So if people aren't paying attention later on, you're like, oh no, was it him or him? Like, I don't know which one I want to walk across, you know, because it could be a hunter, right? You could do it with hunters. You could do it with all kinds of stuff. So it kind of keeps the board dynamic, right? It's like things are kind of changing a little bit. We still had blips, unexposed blips,
We did.
because I think there's so many traps and stuff in there that you don't just always want to run
You don't
around
always want to
blindly.
do it. Yeah.
You know,
it can be bad.
Right. And there's cards that you can look,
Yep.
you know, let you look at blips. I think
didn't
that
take
those
time
are
to do that.
those are basic ones, you know, that everybody has access to. But yeah, and then another thing that I think is really important that I like is that if you have a character that died, let's say this guy died, right? And he's been killed. Anytime now that in the game that I draw one of his cards, I have the choice to cull it from my deck and I can draw a card to replace it. I didn't do that because I liked having more of the movement
Movements.
options that they provided, because a lot of those characters let you move either hunter or contestant. But if it's like, well, this is just a hunter move, I don't need it, I can never use this ability again, I'm going to get rid of that so I can draw something better. So it does give you a little bit of mitigation there. And it's not like, oh, I've got this dead guy's cards clogging up my whole deck. Like,
Right.
no, you can get rid of them. And I appreciated that. I thought that was a nice... I'd be curious to hear if that came through with playtesting or if that was baked in like from the
get-go.
beginning. But yeah, I think the game's on Kickstarter now. There's miniatures and stuff for it as well. The acrylics look great.
Yeah, the colors are good.
You know, I think if I just had this game with acrylics, I'd be fine.
Yeah, because then like it's easy to tell which ones are hunters and which ones are contestants.
Yeah, because the contestants have the blue black background,
Right.
and then the hunters have
Yeah,
the red
and
background.
and the bases change depending on the player card.
Right, yeah. So I just grabbed some random ones, right? But he's got a green
There's
one.
another cool mechanic built into the round structure that I think forces the action pretty well. So at the end of round 3, all blips here are going to be exposed. As we get to round 6, all of these are going to be exposed, and this sector gets destroyed. So now you only have 3/4 of the board to use. So then at the end of round 7, this sector is destroyed. Now you only have half the territory to roam in. And I like how it sort of forces everybody into the same
Right.
area
Can't just keep
and
running.
makes the game smaller as
And
you go
if you're
along.
in one of those rounds like 6 or 9 where they eliminate a whole thing, if you have any dudes there, they die.
Yeah.
And I specifically like
Yeah.
had to read basically, but like I was like, okay, I'm done. Mike was thinking about his turn. I'm like, oh no, hold on, I'm not done, because I'm gonna I've got to move this guy out of here. So that I did a different thing just to get that guy out of that sector.
And the tunnel
it-
collapsed.
and it and it still made it made for very difficult, interesting decisions, and I had to kind of give up a turn basically to get this dude out of there, only to have him get clobbered over the head the second he popped out of the tunnel on the other side. Thanks, Bob. But yeah, I appreciated that. I thought it was a lot of fun. Anything else before we just kind of go into some final thoughts, and then whether this is a recommend or not? You got any other final thoughts you want to add?
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned a little bit, but I do like how like you have your main like board there where your deck can go and your discard pile, and you've got the dials to track each of your bits. But then as you recruit your people, they kind of get added to the side over here, over and over, and then your hunters go on the other side. And when they die, you kind of just flip them over when they're out of the game, and whatnot. Like it would be cool to have a little piece of art,
Like a
on
dead,
there. Skull and crossbones or something like that. But no, I like that. I think the dials work pretty good. You can trade your people your fans in to get different things you might need, like you're saying those
Intrigue cards.
entry cards, money, or re-rolls, which is important.
Yeah,
too.
super
Re-rolls are
important.
Super important. I like the variety in all the hunters, and a lot of them are like, like a Leatherface, and there's basically like an IP adjacent,
Yeah.
type of hunters.
Yep.
And just that whole Running Man feel, because I really liked Running Man growing up. As Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I was literally watching the movie while setting this up before
Nice.
you guys came over.
Nice. But yeah, like maybe nice maybe to see some more map. Are these double sided at all?
No.
Or no, just the one side.
Yep.
A little bit of variety with the map tiles, maybe. I guess it does lend itself to expansion, right? So you can get some new types of tiles and terrains and everything. But I enjoyed it. I think the theme really kind of comes out. And
The rule set is pretty straightforward
the
too.
rule set, being pretty pretty straightforward.
But Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree about the theme. Like, it really does come out in this game. I feel like I'm kind of running these contestants and hunters around to do my bidding in the quest of money and more fans.
Yeah.
I like that theme, and it does come out. The art is absolutely fantastic. It adds to my enjoyment of this game. I like
crazy.
how the characters are drawn. I like how multifaceted the board looks. Like,
Right.
every sector looks very unique from other sectors,
And you
it
can-
really stands out.
You know,
Move
there's
them
no
around.
there's no great like or specific way to set it up.
Yeah,
you just
could
throw them all
rotate
out.
put them out there. Yeah,
And the only thing that's important is that once you have the orientation, you've got to keep it, right? Because of the elimination of the top two sectors.
yeah. I'm looking at this one here. Like, wow, there's only one pathway to get out of this room. So if you were stuck over here and then that closed off, somebody could put like a hook or something right here that you would.
Oh,
have
that'd
to
be
walk
Yeah, I
terrible.
think
into.
it's because we don't have the board turned the correct way.
No, they can go any way.
There's two exits anyway. We don't have it spun around correctly. There's going to be two to each one. Like, this would not be blocked off, is what I'm saying. So, but no, I enjoyed it. I think it's unique in its theme. And I want to play more to see how some of the other contestants play, because the contestants seem to play a little bit different. Like, I had this guy in my first game, and he had ways that he could get extra fans, like if someone died on his turn. And then my other guy could move a lot and had a lot of health and could hit hard. So I just like the way that the contestants and the hunters kind of feel a little bit different, and I'd like to play more of the contestants to see how maybe they mesh off of each other. But yeah, I think there's good replayability in just the sheer number of contestants and hunters you have in this game. We certainly didn't see all the hunters.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it is definitely a game I would recommend. It's fun to play.
Yeah, I think everything you guys said. I had asked them. They were asking for people that would be interested in reviewing, and I reached out because I'm like, well, I love Running Man, and I love horror themed games. I like horror movies, and there's not always a ton of them, right? Or like a ton of them that are actually immersive, and
Right.
feel
Or
like
true to
what they're
form,
trying to
kinda,
be,
yeah.
right? And when they do, though, they're usually pretty good, So this isn't like a perfect game, but I had a really good time playing it. I think again, the theme really comes through. I had a good experience. Again, we are playing a prototype version, so some rules could change, some components could change, but I don't think any of the components that I really enjoy are going anywhere.
Right.
Or going to be changed in a negative way. So no, I had a good time with this. It was fun. It was bloody. I think it also sometimes with games like this where it's like, oh, my guys are all just getting ganged up on. And it's like, well, that doesn't matter. Like, that's
so
not the
much.
point.
Right.
Because like early on, right, you guys were like beating up. I had that one girl that was like kind of off, and she just was getting everybody's attacking her. I'm like, well, I'm just getting fans. I'm getting fans. And then I was using those fans to build up my other characters and do stuff. Because then I had that one guy come in with like 2 weapons, and he just like was just a buzzsaw,
Wailing on people, yeah.
right? And so it's like, well, I'm gonna let her go, but this guy's gonna be badass. And even then I got to play like a really fun card that she had, right? That gave me extra dice. You had a character.
Yeah, 6 extra dice on a defense.
Yeah, I was like, what? You know,
Yeah.
and so there were some kind of fun twists and turns. And I unlike some games where, it sucks if your characters are getting beat up on early, it didn't really matter that much because I still had other characters. Like Mike had lost all of his contestants, but still had a hunter that he could run around with, and
you can
and
control
do
other
stuff.
people's hunters too.
You can move other people's hunters and
Yeah.
things like that. So, again, there's probably, it'll be interesting to play more and see some of like the balance stuff and see if there are, because I could see where potentially like, oh, this could be problematic down the line. But in our playthrough, I mean, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I think that I think the very simple, draw that extra contract discard one is like a nice workaround. I would like to see more variety of the contracts because they are kind of all straightforward. It's this or this, it's this or this, left or right or your own. And so there's like the alternate versions, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's not a make or break thing for me in a game. I lucked out and did fine with the contracts because we had a ton of trophies, so that helped me out with the end game ones that were kind of, again, we all forgot about it.
But it was
until the
still
end.
like a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Ended up being.
Yeah, it was really close. It was really close. But yeah, this is a recommend. I had a fun time with this. A unique theme that felt immersive at the same time. So, anything else, guys?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
All right. Well, this has been the Horror Game Show from Board Games. And for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
Mike.
Keep running. We'll see you next time.